My mother's all Italian. She's father's from Lucca and her mother's from Calabria, which are
Mm.
practically different countries, but they met in the U.S. and married. Uh, but I'd been taken to see my relatives in Lucca when I was about 6 or 7. Um, I found it fascinating. My mother actually found it upsetting um, because she couldn't speak any Italian, and she felt her father had died recently, and she felt it made her sad,
Mhm. Right.
and she didn't really want to go back. And I didn't go back until I was married and uh, you know had some money in the bank to take myself.
Mhm.
And we went for the first time in 2001, uh, and 9/11 happened while we were there, which was interesting. And at the beginning of our trip too. But uh, I got such a warm reception uh, that I went back the next year. And when we went, we would go for a month or more, sometimes 2 months, and rent an apartment or rent a small house. Or once we stayed in a cousin's house because they were out of the country, and we'd go to a lot of family dinners. And we've been there for Christmas, and we've been there for funerals, and we've been there for different events. And I think I'm invited to a wedding this spring.
Aw.
And, in the process, I knew a little Italian going in, but learned a lot more painfully because it's not really a skill I have, but I'm operational now. And, and it became the time of the year when I had plenty of time to take photographs as opposed to when I was working at my illustration work. And so I would come home with thousands of photographs, you know, digital photographs that I could use for reference. And that was really the inception of it. So the beginning of it was a family thing, but the end result was it sort of became my self-assigned artistic subject.
Interesting.
Uh, and it's nice because it's both, to me, it's both familiar but not familiar. And so I'm getting to paint things that I would have trouble finding in the United States. People dress differently. People hold themselves differently.
Mhm.
Um, the backgrounds, the buildings are obviously in some state of decay, which I like
Mhm.
anyway. Um, and it sort of has that. It's kind of like an opera set,
Yep.
but in real life.
Yeah.
And so I found all those things attractive. I could have just as easily stumbled into something else, but that's what I stumbled into.
Fascinating. I love that. It's like, you just go with the flow of life and see the sights and respond to them and they stick with you. That's how it is.
Yeah, and things just happen to you.
Yeah.
Um, I've sort of avoided doing kind of postcard views.
Mhm.
Um, not Lucca has not been a big tourist destination until fairly recently, and it doesn't really have too many iconic things that you would say this represents Lucca. I mean, there's no Leaning Tower of Pisa, and there's no Uffizi, and there's no Statue of David, and it's a very peaceful walled city with some churches in it, and and when I was a kid, it was a very dirty, post-war, rundown, stressed out place.
Mhm.
Now it's become kind of a center in Europe. It hosts the European Comic Con,